I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Bianca.
And welcome back to the Preservice PODSQUAD podcast.
So today we're super excited because we're joined by Linda Miller, who is a speech therapist in Jersey City. And this is her 10th year in the profession. So she's joining us today for an episode about time management and just different strategies you can use once you enter your career that can help you reduce stress. So, Linda, do you want to say hello first?
Hello, everyone. How is everyone?
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and, what do you do as a speech therapist and just a little bit about background about yourself before we get started?
All right. So I'm a speech therapist in Jersey City. This is my 10th year there. I work with all students, hearing and deaf and hard of hearing students. That's one of the reasons why I work in Jersey City for that population, the deaf and hard of hearing. I work amongst colleagues such as psychologists, learning consultants, and social workers on the child study team. And together we work on cases that have been referred to us for children possibly needing special education. So we work together, we can meet with the parents, and we decide whether we should take the case on, and then we evaluate the case if we feel that it's warranted that that child requires services. So that's a little bit about my job.
Okay. Usually what age group of students do you work with?
I work with pre-K to 8th grade.
Wow.
So elementary school age.
It's a wide range.
Yes. Yeah.
Really though. Do you notice accumulated more cases since COVID or?
Yes, definitely. Since COVID, the cases really went up. I think the year after COVID and we went back into in-person learning, the cases were sky high. The cases really went up.
Let's get into that. Let's see.
Yeah, so some of the work that you do right now, you were talking about how you have time management strategies and you share that with other educators who might be struggling in that area. Was there any specific experience or moment that sort of made you feel called to present about these important strategies?
Well, I will say I had been working with those strategies over the years and just trying to get it right instead of just throwing things on the wall and see what sticks. But October 6, 2021, I had a medical crisis that I didn't know what was happening. We had come back in from virtual learning. Now we're in person. And we were out that particular day. We had a workshop. It was a very good workshop. So I was enjoying it. But then all of a sudden I got dizzy. And then I decided to go to the nurse's office just to, get my pressure checked. It was almost time to go home. I said, let's even get my pressure checked. And my pressure was sky high. She didn't tell me what the number was at the time, but she did say, you need to go see your medical professional. And so I tried to do that, couldn't get in, but we tried to, use water and do things to get the pressure down for the night and just try to relax because we didn't know where it was coming from. So the next day, went back and I talked to her. She said, well, come back after we work with the kids because during that time they were testing all the kids before they came in, checking temperatures. They were doing all of that. And I went back to her and the pressure was the same number. It was, I believe, 161 over, I forget what the bottom number was, but either way, both numbers were out of control. And I got sent home because you can't be in school with, that kind of thing. So I went and I finally got medical help for that and then trying to decide what happened, what's going on. But it was the amount of pressure from the cases, amount of pressure from just, parents feeling that their child needed services, educators thinking that their students needed, services, the out-of-state cases. There was a lot of out-of-state cases coming into Jersey. Saying that they needed help. And it was just so much going on because when you work on a child study team, I have my own cases that I manage, but I also work with the other team members on their cases. So if their students receive speech or think they need speech and testing, I'm on those cases. So it's not just me, so I'm working with 4 people. And that's a lot that you have to deal with. And to the point where my desk was really a mess. And I didn't know what was up or down because the pressure just was happening. And then I decided after that, I didn't ever want to go do that again because that was a medical crisis that could have been a death sentence. And I didn't even know it. So when you think about stress and time management, stress is a silent killer. And it could come up on you at any time for anything. And I was also dealing with family situations My sister had passed away, and I was trying to grieve and deal with that and work at the same time. And that was just a lot. So then I decided, you know what? I need to find a strategic way to work on my management of my time and my stress, and also check in with myself a lot more. And I think we should do those daily check-ins even throughout the day. Like, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling right now in that moment? So that's when I really started to, dig in and dig a little deeper with that.
When you were in the moment, though, I'm curious, when you were working with your child study team, was there any opportunity for you to say, listen, I really can't handle all these cases, can you help me with this? Or was it like just so much pressure for everybody that there was no way that you could delegate responsibilities to somebody else?
Well, they couldn't help me as much, but I didn't speak loud enough to my supervisors. And that's who really could have helped me delegate the duties to other speech therapists in the field, because that's what we do as well. If you're overwhelmed and overworked, our supervisor will call on us. Could you go to, help Bianca and test 2 of her kids? Can you go to Chelsea and can you, test a couple of her kids? Or can you take on a couple of her students if your caseload is light? So I didn't speak up fast enough. And by the time I thought about it, one of my colleagues spoke up for me, but I was already drowning. But they spoke up for me and spoke a little louder, and that's when people started calling me. But at that point, I had already been out sick and came back to work. But yeah, I could have done it if I would have paid attention more and not just be so upset about it and just holding it in. Like, you're right, speaking it out is better than holding it in and just suffering in silence. And that's what I did. I suffered in silence for a minute. And so now what I do, I tell my colleagues, look, if you're overwhelmed, overworked, say something. Don't be like me. Don't let that happen to you. Because like I said, I'm here today, but that could have been a different story.
So very real.
Yeah, something that stuck out to me there was that by the time someone else reached out and asked for help, you were already in such a difficult place that it was too far gone, it was too late for that. So a question that I have is, are there any tips that you recommend for pre-service educators or educators currently in the field to kind of pick up on those warning signs before it gets to a point where it's too late to ask for help? Is there anything that they can look for to notice, maybe I should be voicing, my needs to my supervisor, for example?
I would say keep track of your caseload. So let's say you coming in as a new speech therapist. I would say keep track of your caseload, keep track of your dates. Let your team know, how do you work? Like for me, I tell my team, Post-its work for me. So if you need me to do something, put it on a Post-it. And also send me an email, because that way I'll check it off so I know what's happening, and I'll probably rewrite it again for myself to make a little list for myself. But I would say keep track of what you have to do. Have your calendar handy. So write down everything. Know what you have going on. Know your own stuff, because you will have your own cases, but then also know what their cases are. And also tell them, look, I'm busy this day. I can't have a meeting, because on top of evaluations, testing, and having a full caseload, right now I think I have maybe 40 some kids right now. But I have a lot of pre-Ks that come through that we have to see if we can test. Those are meetings. And then we have regular annual meetings to see how their IEPs are going. That's another meeting. So if those parents would like to talk to me during those times, I have to attend those meetings. So even as coming in as a teacher, you have to see, what does your schedule look like? What do you have to do? What paperwork is required of you? And keep track of that. But also, I would also just say, breathe. Take moments in your day. You have 10 minutes. Don't go talk to your neighbor. Take a breath. Even if you just walk around the building, take a breath. Those are things that I wasn't doing, but I do now.
Yeah, something that I often struggle with is saying no and setting those boundaries. So it can be very difficult to say no, especially, we were talking before, we're kind of the people who like to do the work that needs to be done. We don't always necessarily trust other people to do it in the way that we want it to get done. So how do you recommend saying no and just setting that boundary, even though you may feel it inside that you'd rather yourself take care of that task?
Well, one, I would say take off the guilt. Because a lot of time we don't say no because we feel guilty that we didn't do it. And sometimes we want to do it because, well, no one's going to do it like me. So we have to think about our mindset. So think about your mindset and how you want your day to go. Mm-hmm. And you have to start from the beginning about boundaries. The people that you work with should learn how you work, but you have to tell them that. So you start saying no now, and you practice now. And you don't have to just do something abrupt, but you can just start little things. Let's say you're working and I'm on break, but then you want to come talk to me. Well, I'm not on break yet. So I have to let you know when I'm on break, then we can talk. So that's a boundary. I worked with someone and she was getting her master's, and the colleague who was working with her and helping her, showing her the ropes, she kept interrupting her. So I told her, I said, well, you have to tell her that this is not my time. These are the times I'm available. This is your schedule. And definitely have a schedule. You know, sometimes teachers have a pre-made schedule and sometimes they make their own schedules. Like for us, we make our own schedule. So I can build in times where I want to have space when I can. Sometimes that's not available. But just speaking on that, knowing what you have to do and when you want to break. And sometimes you may not want to engage with your colleagues. You might want to say, you know, this is my 45-minute break and I just want to rest and not engage, especially when you've been teaching all day. I've been in sessions all day. I may just want that break. Mm-hmm. But you have to tell yourself it's okay. It's okay to say no. No is not a bad thing because you're saying yes to yourself. It's definitely not a bad thing. And you have to starting now is good. And that's not just with work, with family, friends, you know, opportunities. Sometimes the opportunity is not for you. But you want to say yes to everything because it's exciting, it's new. Yeah. I want to try out everything. And I had to learn that myself. You know, that's not your time. It's okay to say no. You need rest. Because when you're going to rest, by the time you get home, you're exhausted.
That's so true. And I think sometimes when, you know, you have to tell your colleague, you know what, I just need my break to myself today. I feel like sometimes people can be intimidated by that, like they want to fully honor what the other person wants too. But I think you have a point in saying that you have to like practice saying no, and you have to say yes to yourself. And also there's a very like polite way that you can tell someone that, like you don't, like you said, you don't have to be abrupt about it, but you can just kindly tell them, you know, this is how I'm feeling. Can we please, you know, talk when we both have a break, or, you know, when I need like time to breathe and get my energy back right now.
Yeah, because you want to work at a high vibration. You want to work in high energy, high vibration. And you can just say, I have 10 minutes tomorrow in the morning. I don't have meetings because sometimes there's meetings going on in the mornings at work, whether it's the principal calling it, whether it's different grade levels have meetings, and sometimes I have a meeting. But, you know, you can say, I have 10 minutes tomorrow morning. Let's chat then.
Exactly.
And that's fine. You don't have to get into all that because you're right. Sometimes people will take offense, but sometimes it's going to have to be okay for your preservation, because we don't want to just survive in this industry. We want to thrive, and we thrive by preserving our energy and ourselves.
So when you do have, you know, like before you mentioned, to sort of make your own schedule, and you do have all of these responsibilities that you have to do, or all these tasks, how do you prioritize or figure out, okay, this is what I'm going to do now, I'm going to spend like an hour on that, and then I'm going to do this? Or how do you figure out your schedule? How do you figure out what to prioritize first?
Well, one, I make the schedule based on my comfort of the students. That's in the beginning. I have to work with the teachers about when I can pull the students. So that's one thing. So I have to work with them and figure out what's the best schedule for both of us. So you just can't pull kids just when you want to. You work with the teachers and you say, hey, let's see when we can work that out. But the other things, you just find out what's important. So, for example, if we test a student as part of the child study team, if we test a student, then my important date is called prior notice. That's the date when your reports have to go home to the parents. So you have to send that in 10 days prior to the meeting. Okay. So that particular date is the most important date for me, because that helps me know what's priority. And it's so funny, we were having this conversation today about students that, like, the school year is winding up. So now we're going, okay, did you test this student? Did you test that student? Okay, we have to figure out what date came first. So we were working on that. It's so funny that we were working on that today to figure out how to do it so we're not overworked or overwhelmed. piling things on, because sometimes the team is not always together in the same building every day. So I work in the building where 3 days we're all there. The other 2 days we're not. Some of us are not there. So you have to also figure that out, because you don't want to always pile in like every day that you're there, you're in a meeting. So you have to figure that out. But then once you find out the days, that's what's important. I look at my calendar and say, what's important this week? So if something's due at the end of this month, I'm not worrying about that right now. Something's due, let's say, next Friday. That's what's important. So that's how I look at it. So you have to write everything down, and that's what communication with your team, even with your supervisor, because sometimes supervisors, they want to have meetings. And sometimes you get to tell them, I can't meet with you because we already have a meeting. So you have to convey that. But that means you've written down everything. And that's why I was talking about earlier about visualization. You have to write everything down, or you're going to miss something. And that's not what you want to do. You don't want to be right. You don't want to say, oh, we have a meeting tomorrow and you didn't do your part. Mm-hmm. You don't want that. So you want to write everything down so that you can keep track of that. Because that's very important. Because the school day can get going,
easily.
It can get going real easily. So it also depends on what's happening in your classroom and what other role that you have. It depends. Anything can happen for the day. A fire drill can mess up your day. Because we have those twice a month, I believe. So those things can interrupt your day.
Add more stress to it.
Yeah. Right.
So how do we visualize? Can you walk me through what you mean when you say visualize?
Think about all the duties that you have in whatever role that you have. Think about those duties and then write it all out. And then figure out how you can plan them out on your schedule. And a lot of times you have to work with your team to see, okay, what cases for me, which students have speech? Let's figure out when we have meetings, because there's annual meetings. Then there's, they're called reevals. So that means that a student has a plan, an IEP plan, and every 3 years we review that and we test that student. May or may not be, test that student. So we look at that. Or we may have an initial, someone who's just recently referred to us. And then we have to look at those dates and those plans. So we have to look at all of that. Once we say that we're going to take that case on, now we have to look at the date, because there's a timeline for everything. There's a timeline for everything. And you need to know your timeline. It's very, very important. So if it's an initial, it's 90 days. If it's a reeval, it's 60 days, right? So we have to do that. And the annual is one time a year. So you do like a progress note, like a reporting on what's the progress of that student, how everything is going. Do they still need me? Do they still need the services? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So when you plan all that out and you look at all of that, because you have to look at your cases, and you should be doing that weekly, monthly, so that you can keep up with what's going on with your students anyway. And that way you can figure out the meeting times, testing times, anything else that you have to do, and other things that your supervisor may require of you that you have to do. So that's what I would say with the visualization part.
Okay. I've seen some people once they've laid out those priorities, they also will put in a spreadsheet too, and instead of, they'll write it down instead of on a piece of paper, they'll put it in the spreadsheet, and they'll even I've seen some people do red, yellow, or green of I have some more time, so this is a green, or red, this is due in 2 days. Right, it has to be done now. That's
definitely good. Color coding. I just recently started color coding thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely good. I don't do so much digital. I have recently started color coding different things. So
I was going to ask, you mentioned sticky notes before, so were there any online tools that you use, like Google Sheets, Google Drive, to keep yourself organized? Because for me personally, I kind of use a mix of a pen and paper planner. That's when I write my actual tasks, but then my Google Sheet has all the assignments for the semester laid out, so I know kind of looking forward what's due. So do you use a mix of both, or are you primarily using paper?
I primarily use paper.
Okay.
But I do know other people who do use digital form.
Yeah.
So I just recently started using Google Drive a lot. I use that a lot now. But I know a lot of my other colleagues, they do use that with color coding and different things. But I'm a pen and paper girl.
So you usually just have a to-do list of every task that you need to get done?
Right. And I usually only give myself 1 to 3 per day. 1 to 3. And what I've started doing is now I have an achievement list, not so much just a to-do list. So if I got 1 and 2 done, good.
Okay.
Good. Okay, we'll try. We'll try the other one maybe tomorrow. Yeah. So a lot of time we put the to-do, but we don't celebrate the win. The win was you got that done. You studied for that. those things that you had to get done, you did it, and you have to celebrate those things and not just say, oh, look at this task. Because the thing is, when I look at my schedule, I want to be happy about it, because it's not just about making a schedule. How do I feel when I look at it? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling depressed? Or am I getting happy?
This is like revolutionary right here. I feel like we need to pause for a second, because I think language is so important, and certain words that we say sometimes can hide a meaning behind something, but when we see other words, it has a certain connotation in our brain that does something psychologically. Maybe you would be able to tell me more, but when I see to-do list, it sounds negative. It sounds like, wait a second, I have to do these 20 things. And it sounds terrifying. I don't want to do it. I don't want to look at my to-do list, even if I have to do all of those things. But I like the way that you reframed it as an achievement list. And in my head, that was like little blinking red lights were going off, which is why I said that's revolutionary, because instead of writing to-do at the top of every list, I feel like just writing achievement list or writing things to achieve today is such a celebration, instead of it feels like a punishment to write all the 20 things that you have to do today.
Exactly, because we know in our jobs and your courses, there are things that you have to do. You know that those are things you have to do, get done. But we can just get a little happier by it. And what I do when I use my planners, I put sticky notes. I put stickers. I put happy faces on different things. So I get happy when I look at my planner. I'm like, oh, if I have something that I'm going to do for fun, I put something for fun. I find stickers that has to do with fun to make me, when I look at my planner, I'm getting a little happier.
I like that. I need stickers now.
Yeah, stickers are key.
Olivia, a previous guest on our show, told us that she has a lot of stress balls, but I'm thinking we need a sticker collection now and a stress ball collection. Yes. That would be very, very cool.
Yeah. And we were recommended lighting candles, but we need fake candles because we live in the dorm.
Right.
So we need fake candles.
Right.
Fake candles, stickers, and stress balls.
Yes. And calming music.
Yes, music is something big.
I play music all the time. Even when I have my students, I put music on. Because it relaxes. So why not set the tone for your space, whether you at work, whether you at home, or anywhere else that you have some sort of control over it. Set the tone. I have positive affirmations on my desk. So when I come into my desk, yes, the computer is there. Yes, there are things I have to do, but I look over there and I'll go, oh, okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
What does your do you have an office or a classroom?
Office.
Okay, what does your office usually look like in terms of maybe lighting? Do you have any comfortable seating? You mentioned the music.
Not really. I just put different things on my desk, just to affirm me and my space and just to make me happy. But I definitely use music a lot. When I walk in, I need to hear the music on. And I try to put positive energy. Sometimes it depends on how I'm feeling. Maybe I didn't sleep well. And that's another thing with stress. We have to go to sleep. We have to get good rest. Let's say I didn't get a good night's sleep. So I have to come in. I have to have music that pump me up a little bit. Because when my students come in, I want to be on 10. 10 in a positive way, not negative. And I don't want to be on 1. And I look at it like that. Sometimes we look at 10 as being negative, because it can be. If you don't regulate yourself, that number 10 could be negative. When your kids walk in, they don't want to hear you yelling and screaming because you haven't regulated yourself. Or even your colleagues. Nobody wants to hear that. Not early and first thing in the morning. Things could happen throughout the day, but still find ways to regulate yourself. So I try as much as I can to do things that will put me in a high vibration.
Even that phrase, high vibration, I don't think I've ever heard that before. That makes me feel more energized. I need to start saying these words.
Yes.
Achievement list,
Yes.
good vibrations.
Yes.
In addition to visualizing, do you have any other strategies that we could use to help us manage our time, or just make sure that we're staying on task, but also not having a lot of stress on our plate or feeling stressed?
Find something you like to do for fun.
Okay.
Find something that you can take a pause and do for fun. Like for me, reading is relaxation. I also use reading as a therapeutic tool with educators to help them relax and de-stress. So it's not just working with the time, but using that portion of reading as with the health benefits that go with that to help you relax. So find something that you really like to do. And it doesn't have to be something on the outside. It could be anything. It could be anything.
I love reading too, and I definitely would agree that that's a great way to de-stress, especially before bedtime. I don't know if you also read before bed, but usually I'll keep books on my windowsill next to my bed, and I'll just read at least a few pages, if not less, just so that.
And give yourself grace. If things didn't work out, we hope and pray we wake up the next day, we can try it again.
That rhymed too.
You have some good lines.
Yeah, that's our
Like,
third
seriously.
right there. We hope and pray. And what was the last one?
I have no idea.
I liked how you said saying no to other people is saying yes to yourself. That's what stuck out to me.
Yes, you have to start saying yes to yourself because you're here to thrive, not just to survive. That's just what we doing, to do the autopilot stuff. We don't want to do that. We want to live a prosperous, full life. And that's not talking about money. That's talking about your health. You know, if I didn't take care of what I need to take care of, then that could have been something different, a different conversation. And so we want to be prosperous and thrive with our health so that we can do all these fun things and loving things that we want to do. So we can I can see you in the field, you know? So you have to take care of yourself. Now you have to learn how to do it and find out where are you spending your time? What are you doing? You know, find out like time zappers. I would say do a time audit. Like spend a day and just say, you know what was I doing all day? To see maybe there's something that you can take away or something that you can add in there that's positive. Because adding and subtracting is not always bad. You know, if you're watching a show all the time and you're not studying, well, guess what? Are we going to pass the test? I don't think so. Maybe, but that was just by a whim. Mm-hmm. So we have to figure out, and that's where the priority comes in. So you find out what you have going on, you find out what you need to do, and you find out where you've been spending your time. Because if you don't take stock of that, then you won't know.
I think that's a really important idea, just unplugging. And
Yes.
even if you think your relaxation is watching a movie or a TV show, you're still looking at a screen, and you look at a screen all day, every day at work. And so relaxing and taking care of yourself could also mean just putting the computer and phone and TV away and taking some time to yourself. Like you mentioned, reading. We've talked a lot about going on walks. So just removing yourself from the technology is also very important. Relaxation isn't just watching TV. It could also mean doing other things like stepping away from those things and giving yourself time to just live without technology.
Right, just for a moment, you know. When COVID hit, we were on our computers all the time. We had to be. That's how you were staying connected with people because we couldn't be together. Mm-hmm. But, we have to get back into at least being in communication with one another and not just being on our screens. To really relax our brain because our body will say thank you.
And I think sharing a lot of these strategies with our students could be helpful as well because they too need to sometimes step away from the technology and just connect with each other on an in-person basis, not always through texting or calling, FaceTiming, whatever. And so you can serve as a role model for your students if you're saying, hey, I encourage you to go out and take a walk after school today, or to go play outside, go find a playground, something like that, and serving as that model because they look up to you and they admire you. And so serving as that example, that's really important too.
Even if maybe you show them that during the school day. I think it would be cool, when they're at gym or in phys ed class or they're doing something else, you walk by their classroom or you walk outside while they're doing their activities to show them that you too are taking a break. You're practicing what you're preaching. Right, exactly. I find that a lot of students now, or maybe just in college too, they're de-stressing activity is, scrolling on Instagram Reels or scrolling on TikTok, and it's oh, I need 2 hours of my evening from midnight to 2 a.m. That's what I need to de-stress. I need to spend 2 hours on my phone just mindlessly scrolling because I need to do something that doesn't require any mental effort. But I don't know, what do you think of that? What do you think of this uptick in social media usage and everybody kind of turning to their phones and for their alone time instead of reading or doing something without screens?
I think it's causing different problems medically, because there is a phenomenon now with your neck because of how you're looking at the screen. So a lot of people have gone to the doctors. Maybe 2 summers ago, I went to some physical therapy, and I forget the name of it, but it's what it's called. It's like text something, because of the way we hold our heads. And so you're always on your phone, and even like your hands hurting. So now the doctors were saying, like, when I'm on my phone, hold the phone up, hold the book up, so that the book and my head and neck are in alignment. Even my computer, to lift it up off the table so I'm not always down. So that has gotten, more people have complained about that. So more people are coming to physical therapy for that too. So I would still say, we may think that we're relaxing, but our brain is not relaxing. Our brain is ongoing. And if you're doing it from 12 to 2, your brain should be resting and not, excited. You may think you're relaxing, but your brain is going. Even I have to start turning my television off at night, because sometimes the sound relaxes me, but still that's affecting my brain. Mm-hmm. So I have to learn how to turn that off, maybe listen to some sounds and have it on a timer so that it goes off. But we still have to relax in our body. We have to see how we're connecting that technology that we're always holding in our hand. What is it actually doing to our bodies?
Yeah, and it really doesn't allow you to relax because it's constant stimulation, especially like watching Instagram Reels or TikTok. You're swiping through a video every couple seconds. So you're seeing something new, you're processing new audio, and so that's really just getting your mind going even more. You're not relaxing.
Right, exactly.
And doing that for 2 hours or longer too. Sorry.
Right. It's not even just young people. It's people my age, in that mid-year. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's so, I don't know, it's like addicting to be a part of technology. And you tell someone, well, just put your phone down for a minute. Oh my goodness. What if someone calls me? Well, they'll call back. Mm-hmm. I'm from a time where you couldn't leave a message. Mm-hmm. If you missed a call, you missed a call. And you hope they called you back. So we have to learn how to just put it down, and it's okay. Now, if something's going on, let's say in your family, that you have to have your phone on, you have to be aware. Okay.
True.
I've been that route. But other than that, I'm happy to turn my phone and keep it on silent.
Yeah. It's something that we have to remember that, not everything in our life is connected to our phones, and we don't need to be next to our phone and on our phones checking emails and text messages, truly connected for the entire period of the day. You can cycle in and out of it, and that's okay. Because
that can cause stress too, because what happens if what you're seeing you don't have and you want? Mm-hmm. And now you're stressing because you don't have it. You want that life that you see, and who knows if those lives are real, and that's stress too.
Yeah.
It all adds up.
It all adds up.
So many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So from the strategies that we talked about, how do you think that early career educators, people who are entering the profession now, can use these tactics? Or how can they get used to jumping on these habits now, and instead of starting maybe 10 years when they've acclimated to a new school? How can we get started from day one?
Well, I would say right now, start practicing while you're in school. Okay. Start practicing about the visualization tool. Start looking at what you're doing. Start finding out what's required. We all get a syllabus. Mm-hmm. So what's required? And those are dates on there. So timelines are key. So know your timelines. Start using the tools of a planner, whether it's digital, whether it's a manual planner. And we all have phones. Now I do use my phone for that. So whatever's on my manual planner is on my phone. And I try to keep it connected so I don't miss an appointment, because that's what was happening. If your time management is off, you're going to miss appointments. Mm-hmm. You're not going to show it where you're supposed to be. So I would start saying use those tools and be committed. Be committed to those tools. Now, not so rigid. Flexibility, because things happen, external things happen. You may have to do something, or you couldn't make an appointment, but it wasn't your fault. And it's okay. And you give yourself grace with that, and you try it again. But I would say start with that, use those tools, and be committed to those things. That's one thing that you can do, especially because you're in school, you have a syllabus, you have things that you have to follow.
I mean, those were all amazing tips. This was great advice. We had a lot of fun. We have some great lines and suggestions.
I seriously have to write those down.
Yeah.
Those were awesome.
Use them.
Thank you so much for joining us. We
Oh,
really
thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
You shared some great experiences and tips, so we appreciate it.
Yeah. Do you have any last remarks or like advice from your experience and what you've seen in your own profession for pre-service educators? And we're getting ready to step into the profession, so do you have any last minute advice for us?
Don't take it so serious. Be committed to the profession. Know your why. Know why you're doing it. That's key. Because some days you may have a bad day, but that why is always going to bring you back. So always remember that why. Why are you here? Why are you doing it? And use boards. Like I have like an affirmation wall. So when I wake up, I look at it. So I put my whys, different things up there. Start doing those things. Start talking to yourself in a positive manner. But definitely have that why and always refer to it, because that will always bring you back. Because like I said, some days are not going to be so great. But then you may have a lot of great days. But still, that why will always keep you grounded, because the field has changed over time since I've been in it. And we need you there. We need you with your high energy, that high vibration. We need both of you there working it out with us. So that's what I would say. Have that why and keep it close to your heart and operate that way. Be realistic. Have great dreams and goals for your aspirations for yourself. But get realistic with yourself about what it is you can do. But keep that fire to take a step out. But have that commitment to do it. And that why will always bring you back.
That's great advice. Thank you, Linda. And thank you for bringing your good vibrations into this space today.
Thank you.
You have like radiating sunshine energy. So I really appreciate that. And I'm sure that everybody listening will also appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. I had fun. Thank you.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much to anyone who's joining, anyone who's stuck around and listened to the end of the episode. I appreciate you being here. Definitely look out for more longer length episodes like this, where we're joined by a guest and speaking about tips and tricks as you navigate your journey to becoming a future educator. Also look out for our Motivational Monday episodes releasing every Monday, where it's just a shorter length episode with Bianca and I, and we're hanging out and giving you some motivation to start off your week.
Thank you, everyone, and a happy Thursday. We'll catch you next time.